Out on Monday, the I guess point of the first couple of days will be evaluating, the athleticism of guys. Has anyone caught your eye or surprised you in terms of just running around? I know no pads, but has anybody their athleticism surprised you or caught your eye?
Surprised me, no. But I'd say, through the first couple of days, it's exactly what I thought. Up front, we have really good leadership. Danny O'Brien inside's done a good job. He's one of the more experienced players. Khalil McKenzie's a big, giant person who, once we get into pads, he'll get to show some of the things he's capable of doing. It's been good, seeing some of the other guys move around. Mixon's a guy, certainly, who's shown LaTroy Lewis, on the edge. I think up front it's been good. The guy who in the back end has really kind of made a strongest impression and been very productive is Micah Abernathy. I really think through the first 2 days he's probably been the most consistent performer maybe on the entire unit. He's been productive. He's very attentive, pays tremendous attention to detail, and has been very precise in his techniques and fundamentals. It's been really impressive.
How much, when you come into a new place, do you have to try and convince guys, hey, it's a clean slate, but also balance going back and watching them and see what they've done? Is there a balancing act to that?
Yes. Every individual is a little bit different. I talked about that a little. So when I got on the job, I really reached out to every single player on the defense and spent at least 30 minutes with them, just talking about their personal life, their family, how they ended up at Tennessee, what they thought their skill set lent to the program, the strengths of the unit, the strengths of themselves, the weaknesses of the unit, the weaknesses of themselves, things they needed to work on to get better, and any advice they might have had for me. And, for guys like Derek Barnett or Jalen Reeves-Maben or, Cam Sutton, I was more the listener, listening to what they had to say, giving me feedback, which was really helpful. For the younger guys or players who may have felt this was a fresh start, hey, listen, what are your strengths? What are the things you need to work on? How can I push you? So, as examples, this spring, it's really exciting for me to watch Colton Jumper, Gavin Bryant at the linebacker position, Cortez Sapp, Dylan Bates, Cortez McDowell. Those guys are getting a fresh start and opportunity. I mean, not that you're limiting the reps of Darren Kirkland because he needs to develop, but you're smart on how you utilize those guys, and those guys are game tested and a little bit more advanced as far as that goes. So I really need to see what those guys can do. Marquell Osborne, DJ Henderson at corner, for instance, watching those guys a little bit. The move of Mike Abernathy, Rashawn Golden coming back. Those are guys that I'm excited to watch. And there's clearly, obviously, competition at the safety position.
I know you're not hitting yet, but what have you seen out of Dylan Bates?
In limited reps, he's had a handful of reps in team and things like that. He's certainly got the pedigree. He's a legacy, and that's important. And the game's important to him. He's exactly what you just talked about, a guy who wanted a fresh start. And when you have the will linebacker with the experience that Jalen does, we're looking to assess that situation behind him. It's very competitive between Cortez, who I think's had 2 really good days. He's the one who I think stepped up and played well in that backup linebacker core. Cortez and Dylan, and between those guys, they all have strengths and weaknesses, and obviously the first day in pads, you'll be able to see a little bit more.
You talked about kind of the introductory checks you have with each of the players on the defense. When you get to the practice field for the first few days, there's still an adjustment process, them adjusting to your personality and style, you adjusting to them, or is that taken care of early on, do you think?
It's the next step. I think at first it was just getting used to one another, and then as a person, and then you spend time with one another in the meeting room, in the weight room, in a winter program. So it's learning someone's style, and I think Darren Kirkland said it yesterday. It was like at first we were saying the same thing, but he was speaking German, I was speaking Portuguese. It was one of those deals. And now all of a sudden we learned a common ground, a common communication. That's really been kind of fun over the first month and a half. And then you get onto the field, and you see other people's personality. You see their competitive nature take over. You see how we structure practice. So like anything else, there's been a little transition. I can't be a previous coordinator. I can't be anything other than who I am. And that would be selling myself short and selling everything short. So it's really just trying to find my identity and how it fits in, and trying to be an ultimate teammate and help Team 120, maximize their ability.
Will you look at Rashawn Golden more at nickel or safety, or about equal?
Right now, safety. I'm really excited about the nickel position. I'm excited about Rashawn. Rashawn's had 2 excellent days. Todd Kelly probably has the most game experience at safety, but Rashawn's had, he's had 2 really good practices. Mike Abernathy's had 2, as I said, 2 really good practices, and Stephen Griffin has had 2 really good practices. I feel like a position that may have been a perceived weakness because you lose Randolph and McNeil could well be a position of strength. All those guys are highly recruited players, and they're competing very well. They're very diligent in the film room, trying to do the right things, communicating and making plays on the field. And then obviously come camp, when you get, Tyler Bird or a Nigel Warrior here, it's going to even be more competitive. And those guys are well aware of that, and they're competing with one another within. I think that's the type of competition that's exciting in spring. Yeah, the offense versus defense and things like that, and the interpositional type things, but within the framework of the position, watching those guys help one another out, but at the same time competing for a job is really kind of exciting. So I'm excited about the nickel, because there obviously we've got Malik Foreman, who I think the second half of the year really stepped up, had the big play against South Carolina to cinch the win, and I thought the big interception in the bowl game. And then we've played Marquell there, and Marquell had an excellent first day. He was playing a lot of cover one. He looked fast. He looked explosive, playing man-to-man. Now, yesterday when we put more install in, it was a little overwhelming, but sure, he's got a skill set that's really kind of unique. And Willie told me he's miles ahead of where guys playing that position have been in the past, so that's really kind of exciting.
Is it a challenge being without so many defensive linemen that are sidelined this spring?
Yes and no. It is, because you'd like the opportunity. When I looked out there yesterday, Coach does something really cool, and on the off days, the players who are injured, as part of their lift during the day, they end up meeting with their coach and doing what they can do from a walkthrough fashion on the field. So watching Derek Barnett and watching Kyle, I look out there, I see Vickers, Barnett, Kyle Phillips, who else am I missing up front? A couple of those guys who were injured up front. I'm sitting there going, God, those are some guys who are real contributors to the team right there, and they're not practicing. But the exciting thing is other guys get an opportunity to show out. Austin Smith, we've talked about being an explosive and fast athlete. Darrell Taylor, I'm looking forward to seeing him in the first day in pads, seeing how physical he can be, because he's really a pretty talented kid. Like I said, Mixon really had a good practice. We already know what Vereen can do and guys like that, so that's kind of exciting to me. And like I said the other day, on the first day of practice, I think some of you guys were out there. Quay Paku had a fumble recovery for a touchdown the first day. Yesterday LaTroy Lewis did. So, those guys have all done a good job. So, frustrating in the fact that you'd like to be working with, all your parts, but exciting to me. And then I get a chance. I've already seen some of those guys on film that have played in games. I've known Kyle Phillips for 4 or 5 years. Watching some of the other guys I'm less familiar with has really been kind of a great opportunity for me and a great opportunity for them to get more reps in practice.
One more, guys.
Do you do anything to address defensive tackle this spring? Will you work any maybe ends inside just to kind of see what you have there? Or
Yeah, a little bit. Danny and Khalil and Quay, and then we've got some non-scholarship players that have stepped up and done a really good job. But today we're doing third down for the first time, so 3rd and 7 or more. Some of those things, one of the things we looked at as an opportunity to improve was I think last year we had 30 sacks, and we want to create and generate a little better pass rush, whether it's out of our 4-man front or whether it's bringing some type of pressure. So today in practice we're going to move. We're going to experiment with putting some of the defensive ends inside. We've done that at different places that I've been before, and we call those guys the Smurfs, and we put as much speed and our 4 best pass rushers on the field for those surefire passing situations. And that's something that at the end of practice when we do our third down period today you'll see out there, or that we'll do out there.
Thank you, Coach Shoop.
Thank you. Appreciate it.